Japan, and I'm up again with another video. Hopefully this helps you. So, as you can see from today's video's title, I will be talking about the team teaching setup of a JTE or Japanese Teacher of English and an ALT Assistant Language Teacher here in Japan under the JET program. But before we move on with our topic for today, I would just like to ask everybody how you guys are doing. I'm hoping and praying that you and your family are safe from this enemy that we cannot see, the COVID-19. I know that the world is currently on pause, so I thought I've already been working from home for the past, say, 3 weeks, and Golden Week just passed last week. And I thought it's about time for me to upload a new video and maybe provide you with a new set of information about my life here in Japan and the JET program. And yeah, I know that people might be really excited for the quarantine to end, for things to go back to normal. But first thing that you need to think about would be your health and your family's health. So I am hoping and praying that you guys are always safe and well. So without further ado, let's move on to it. Again, I have my cheat sheet with me because Yogel cannot remember things when I don't write things on the paper. And just a little disclaimer, as always, everything that I will say on this video are all based on my own experiences or the experiences of other ALTs that I have directly observed, okay? So if you're smart, and I know you are, everything that I say on this video, you will be taking it with a grain of salt. Okay, before I move on with our main topic, which is kinds of setup for JTE and ALT, I just want to reiterate first that JTE or Japanese Teacher of English is always a teacher one in the classroom. Remember, the way we respect them and the way that we help them is to always think that they make the major decisions inside the classroom and we are there to support them and guide them and assist them with teaching English. And also, what I always say, it's acid. Every situation is different. This is very true because the relationship that you build with both your JTE and students, it all depends on, for example, the level of your proficiency with Japanese or your, for example, teaching experience. If you have already handled students that are learning foreign language before or English as a foreign language before, that might be easier for you to reach out to students. Or the duties and the responsibilities of an ALT depend on the grade level also. Like, as a concrete example, when you are teaching in elementary, you would be working with a homeroom teacher, if I'm not mistaken. And for high school, senior high school, which I am very knowledgeable about since I am currently teaching in senior high school, we always work with our JTEs or English subject teachers. So I hope you keep all these in mind. Enough with the introductions and let's move on with our main topic. So I have here 7 team teaching setup of ALT and JTE. Let's move on with number 1. I think number 1, I'm gonna call it the perfect match. La, 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 la. Why? Why am I gonna call it the perfect match? I think it's very ideal and the most ideal if the JTE would be sending a lesson plan to the ALT so that you both know the expectation when you get there. It's not like a surprise birthday party for the ALT and will be given instructions such as, ALT, I want to play a game or English activity, because there's gonna be a million of that, I tell you. So if your JT is very considerate enough and if they're not that busy, they will be sending you a lesson plan with a grammar content, hopefully, and their expectations on your role as an ALT inside the classroom. Or if they're really busy, because most of them are really busy, they can at least say, set aside 5 minutes of their time before your lesson, 5 to 10 minutes before your lesson or your period, and they will be discussing with you what are their expectations for your role inside the classroom. So I think that's also ideal because again and again, you will not just be thrown in front of the students without any idea what topic you will be talking about that day. And then I think it's also ideal when the JTE and ALT complement each other's personality, teaching technique, and somehow open-mindedness. Ano po? I will elaborate this more. It's because for me, it's very important that you complement your JTE because there are a lot of times when you would want to also, I'm not gonna say show off. You would also want to be able to be the one to interact with the students directly and not always through the JTE. So if your JTE have the same like teaching technique as you are, it would be very easy for you to just like handle one topic, handle one activity together inside the classroom. So I think that's very important. And also, if the ALT gets her, I'm gonna use myself, her time to interact with the students. So I wouldn't say an equal time because most of the time the JTEs would have a target, for example, activity for that day. And the ALT would be given a good amount of time to interact with the student, which is very, very important for the ALT side because we go to our visit schools. Personally, I go to my visit schools one time a week, and it's gonna be very difficult to build rapport and good relationship with your students if you only get to see them 1 week, and then on that 1 hour session, you don't get to talk to them at all. So I think it's very, very important that your JTE would give you your time to interact with the students, and you also respect the fact that the JTE needs her or his time with the students. So my personal experience about this is, I think I have found my perfect match in the job that I'm doing right now. My perfect JTE match, I think I have found him. So he is one of my JTEs from the rural area here in Hokkaido. And I could say he's a perfect match because he's a very, very considerate. And I have a really high respect on him and how he handles the class and how he makes sure that when I am having my ALT time with the students, he gets to watch after the students' behavior so that he could make sure that it is harmonious for me while I try to reach out to my students. And also, he gives me a really good amount of ALT time. And I really like that. Hindi naman ako bida-bida kasi hindi naman ako si Jollibee. But I like my ALT time because for me, I know that it is important for them to learn grammar, and my JTE also knows that it is important for them to not be defensive of the English language and have fun while learning English. So, yeah, I'll call it the perfect match. Transition music yon. Number 2, I'm gonna call it the alligator. In Filipino, buwaya. Why is it number 2? Anyway, let's put it out there. I would call it buwaya or alligator when the JTE takes up all the time. That could happen. Later on, I'll tell you my experience about it. If the ALT is not assigned any tasks, like for example, you will be asked to be in the classroom, but you will be asked to just give out papers or say, observe student. That's a very vague instruction. Observe students. So just, walking around the classroom and looking at them while they do activities or do stuff. Or I would say it's buwaya when she promised that you will be given a task, but when you're already inside the classroom, maybe she forgot about it and she just took all the tasks to herself, and yeah, she had all the fun and you were there standing and roaming and walking around the classroom, didn't do anything but watch the students and try to communicate with them, but they couldn't really speak a little bit of English. I'm speaking straight from experience na po. So I have also met JTE whom she wouldn't give me any chance to speak with my students or to have a lesson with them The only thing that I did in this classroom, literally, good thing I was only in that school for like 3 times in the spring term. And those 3 school visits, I did prepare something for my students. It was self-introduction and then some English expression lesson. And the other one is like an English fun game to say goodbye to them because the spring term was ending and I was about to transfer to another school. But all those 3 meetings with them, I wasn't able to execute any of my lessons that I prepared for with all my heart and all my time and my blood and sweat. Sweat and blood, what? So, for me, it was a bit offending because I was expecting that I will be given a chance to, do the activity with my students. But it just so happened that she's very focused with one teaching technique, which is a bit traditional. And she's very, very organized. I'm going to give that to her. She has spelling, and then daily quiz, and then English expression, and then speaking drill of some of the English expression that they studied that day. So I would give that to her. She's very organized, and I would have liked to be working with her if she gave me even 5 minutes of the time in the classroom to say introduce myself or ask, like open question and answer portion with my students. But it never happened. So I'm gonna call that the alligator. Be careful. They bite. Next one! Third one would be opposites don't attract. Opposites don't attract. I forgot the lyrics. Na 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 na. MYMP on. Okay, so opposites don't attract for number 3. I say it is when the JTE is 3 times older than you. I would say it's opposites don't attract when the JTE is 3 times your age. I know I'm not discriminating them by their age, but there are difficulties when the JTE say is already 60-year-old and you're a 25-year-old ALT and you're trying to do fun things inside the classroom, but they are all already very comfortable with the old ways they teach English, and they have a very, very little amount of patience to let you handle the class. So that would be a bit of a problem. An ALT who speaks English only and have a very little amount of knowledge about Nihongo, and a JTE who has a little knowledge about English and speaks Nihongo a lot inside the classroom towards the students and towards you. So I think that's when opposites don't attract. I wouldn't say it happened to me directly, but it did happen to a lot of my co-ALTs who are teaching in elementary, because they are not really working with an English teacher. They are working with a homeroom teacher, and homeroom teachers could be a major of other subjects, not only English. So yeah, but it happened to me that even in high school, it did happen to me because I go to special needs high school, and in that school they don't have an English teacher finishing a major in English or who can speak really good English. And for me, there are advantages because I can speak and I can practice my Nihongo, but there are also disadvantages because I would want to try to communicate with them on how we will be working together inside the classroom, but I cannot like communicate well because I cannot speak Nihongo, and then she cannot speak English really well. It did happen to me in one of my special needs high school. But for me, as long as you are respectful enough and you're considerate about the fact that you are in Japan and that you are very willing to try your Nihongo speech, your very little basic Nihongo with your co-teachers, they would be very, very willing to, and they're very, very nice to try to reach out on you to use their very little English and try to teach you bits and bits of Nihongo. So yeah, I'm gonna call that opposites don't attract. Next one. Let me just take a break because my boyfriend is like calling me. Wait. Continuing. The fourth one, I am gonna call it the giver. Why is he or she the giver? He or she is the giver when the JTE gives all that time to the ALT. And as a senior high school student ALT, we are given 50 minutes inside the classroom. And if it's all you from the very beginning to the very end, I think your JTE is a giver. And also, the JTE would only be acting as an observer, walking around the classroom, trying to see how you will teach the students and how the students would react on your lesson. And also, if the JTE plays a role that is usually suggesting that it's the role of an ALT, I think he or she is the giver. So, it depends on the ALT's personality if the giver is a good or a not so good partner. But I would say, for my personality, I would like to be with someone who's a giver of like all the time inside the classroom, especially if it's a visit school, because I only get to go to my visit school one time a week. Sometimes it's every other week, so it's like 2 times a month. So if I get all the 50 minutes, I tend to be able to execute the lesson in full and have more time to interact with students, right? But there are other ALTs that it is a part of our job description anyway, that somehow we will be given a part in that 50-minute lesson, and we execute our lesson, or that we only assist the JTE. So for others who are not really so much into teaching and interacting with the students, it would be a bit of a challenge. But for me, personally, I have experienced this. There's this JTE, and somehow I could be calling him the perfect match also, because it's the type of my personality. I love interacting with the students. I love executing the lesson in front of my students and trying to have fun with them. So I did experience this personally, and for me it was a good thing. But for you, and when you get here and you just like every time you visit the school or every time you go to that class, you get 50 minutes of your 50 minutes of the class, and you don't get any significant help or contribution from the JTE, it might be a bit of a challenge for you. Okay, next one, the fifth one. I'm gonna call it the control freaks. Control freaks. Why am I calling this kind of setup control freak? For both ALT and JTE, okay? It's control freak. For example, let's look at the side of an ALT. When the ALT prepared for a lesson and he is very determined to have the lesson executed in front of the students, and it's the only thing that he is expecting to do in that classroom that day, that's a bit control freak, okay? And every talk that is asked of the ALT is listed down on the lesson. Yes, it happened. You're given a lesson plan, and every single thing that they want you to do, or the JTE would want you to do, is written on that lesson plan, which is also an advantage for an ALT. Why? Especially if it's a special needs school. In special needs school, the kids have a routine. And if you're somebody who only visits once or twice a month, you are expected to follow that routine and be able to fit in that routine, so that the students wouldn't be triggered to have discomfort while you are inside the classroom, and they wouldn't be like too aloof, because special needs students they need a very specific set of say behavioral control technique, both from the JTE and the ALT. So it is both good and say a bit of an advantage and disadvantage. If you are with a JTE or ALT, that's control free, and also it is a bit control freak. If you as an ALT, you don't entertain the idea that is being suggested to you by your JTE, and if you're a JTE, you don't entertain or honor the idea that's being suggested to you by your ALT. So that's it. Next, number 6. I'll call them the killers. Ding, 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 ding. Tama ba yung tono ko? The killers. Why? It's because, no, it does happen for both ALT and JTE. When the ALT is a bit puchu and just having a good time here in Japan, you know, not worrying about the lessons, just caring about the next weekend so I could go somewhere and explore Japan, and did not prepare anything for the lesson or for the visit school, and you are expecting the JTE to have a plan, and that when you get there, you will just be doing a certain part or role that the JTE would ask you to do. And then the JTE didn't prepare anything because it's the ALT day, and he or she is expecting that something is gonna be done. So because you're the ALT and you're gonna be there anyway, you gotta do the job anyway. Since you're already there anyway. Okay? So that's when the killers come into the classroom. I call them killers because they kill time. You think of just like, how you call it, surprise activity, surprise game that could or might not be aligned with the student's lesson for that day, not aligned and doesn't complement their level of proficiency in English, that will not interest them at all as foreign language learners. Yeah, that's when you kill the time and you kill somehow the trust that the students gave you as an ALT or you as a JTE because you did not prepare for that lesson. And I think I'm just kind of like overthinking things right now. It's an overreaction for some of the experiences that I had from the past, but it did happen to me once. That's why I put it on the list. The thing that happened was, well, there will be times that this will happen. Also, it's been, say, inevitable during that time because I was working with a JTE, and then he happened to not go to school that day, and it's my visit school. It's my visit day in that school that day, and he had to ask another teacher, English or language teacher, to assist me. So I was expecting that we're gonna do this specific activity because we talked about it the previous visit, and then when I got there, he wasn't there. I was expecting the materials would be already prepared and ready because I was already asked or told of a certain role inside the classroom. And then that teacher who's gonna be with me to assist me or whom I will assist that day, he also didn't have any idea what to do in that class. We just happened to like in a snap, like 2 minutes before the class, he had to think of something, and I told him that, hey, I have something in mind, and then we can just do this. So we ended up doing that. It was a bit disappointing from my part because it was a bit impossible for me to do the activity that was planned because it needed materials, like printed out materials, and we didn't have time anymore for that. And I was disappointed with myself because I could have prepared the materials myself, but I did not. So that was bad. That was my bad on my part. And the JTE did not prepare for the materials before that day. The absent could have been unexpected anyway. I really wish during that time I could have come up with a more aligned activity for the students. Yeah, it did happen to me, say once. Okay, moving on. Oh, we're on the last one now. This is going to be number 7. I'm going to call it the tape recorder. Give me a T. Give me A. Give me P. Is this P? Give me E. Tape recorder. Why did I even spell it that way? Why tape only? So, I think a bunch of my co-ALTs will be relating to me very, very well, because a lot of chances before ALTs have been labeled as tape recorders. Well, I couldn't really blame the JTE and the ALT for this kind of setup, because sometimes the book in the English education simply dictates it, that you have to be a tape recorder, and then the other one would be the other character in your dialogue as a tape recorder. So, tape recorder, when the JTE uses the book too much, that the lesson is patterned strictly from what is written on the book, you just simply follow everything. Listening activity, writing activity, speaking drill. It's alright if you do that, because that's very organized, but the students won't be excited anymore, since they know what's gonna happen in the next class when the JT is around anyway. He's just gonna read sentences from the book. So it's a bit disappointing. The setup is a bit disappointing, but it's no one to be blamed for this situation, because sometimes the system dictates it. And it is very important too, because most of their exams are bookish and yeah. And getting a really high score from getting a really good score in your exam is one of the aims and the targets of the students and the teachers. So yeah, being a tape recorder, which can be very, very boring, can be very, very disappointing for both ALT and JTE, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. Yeah, so I think that those are the 7 types of relationships or setup that you might experience between the JTE and ALT partner teaching inside the classroom. Okay, so all these 7 setups, they both have advantages and disadvantages, right? But for me, I think all these disadvantages and like the bad part of those that I have discussed, they could be addressed if you have crush. CRUSH, if you have crush, both you and your JTE. And this is what crush stands for. C is for communication. Always communicate your ideas with your JTE so that you will not be misunderstood, or both of you will not be misinformed. If there's anything you want to do inside the classroom, inform your JTE, communicate with your JTE as much as possible. R would be for readiness, respect, resourcefulness. I tried to put everything in one word. Readiness, respect, and resourcefulness. I don't think I have to explain so much of these. Readiness, if you are given a specific task or if you're asked to prepare an activity, be ready so that you don't disappoint yourself, your JTE, and your students. And respect the fact that the JTE is teacher 1 in the classroom, and she has an authority to ask you to do things that she believes will be helpful for the progress of the learning of the students. And resourcefulness, if you happen to be assigned in a school where technology is very limited and you're not very artistic yourself and crafty when it comes to making learning materials, try to be resourceful. Use their book, go to the library, check out if there are activities, try to photocopy worksheets and all that. Try to be resourceful. Okay, U, C-R-U. Understanding. I think this also falls under the respect, the understanding of each other. Know that some of the JTEs, though they have a really, really good education and that they've learned for a really long time how to speak English, there would be difficulties along the way when it comes to communicating with them, say pronunciation, vocabulary, and then the way that they know how English is taught in their country versus the way that you know your English is taught in your country. You have to be understanding and try to always meet in the middle and yeah, communicate your expectations of each other and be understanding. Okay, next one is S. S is self-assessment. For me, I have to put it in here, not because it's S, because it's very important that we don't always just look at the other side when things go wrong, like, oh, the JTE is like this, the JTE is like that. Of course, you always have to look in front of the mirror and assess yourself. It's very healthy. At the end of the day, you go ask yourself, how did I do? Like, how was the lesson today? How was the activity? Did the kids like it? Was it too easy for them? Was it too difficult for them? Was there somebody who's left behind the class while we do this kind of activity? Was I able to help my JTE with this problem? Was I able to communicate my expectations with my JTE? So try to also look at yourself, because we both know that nobody's perfect. That's very cliche though, but it's true, and it applies in almost all situations, general and professional. So don't always blame the other party. Also assess yourself, and when you do that and you assess yourself, try to look at the things that you think you are lacking with, and it's another day tomorrow, and try to improve yourself as an ALT and as a coworker. Okay, and H, CRUSH. H is always put the students' welfare before any issues that you have with your ALTs. I will repeat, always put the students' welfare before any issues that you have with each other. Sorry. I'm trying my best to think of an H and try to connect it with this aspect that I want to discuss, but that's the best I could do. So you have to always think of the students first. For example, it just so happened that your personality doesn't really match the personality of your JTE, and you tend to be annoyed, irritated, you're always frustrated whenever you have like team teaching time with him. Though it never happened to me, I think if ever you are somebody who's currently experiencing this now and you're an ALT undergraduate program, or if you experience this in the future, always remember the first reason why you are in that classroom is not because the JTE needs you, it's because your students are waiting for you. Your students are the very first people you think about when you step inside that classroom. Whatever difficulties you have with your partner, teacher, whatever misunderstanding you guys have, you both have to understand and be able to have one main idea that the reason you are inside the classroom and gonna try your best to educate these students is because they are expecting for you to educate them. And it applies both for ALT and JTE. For me, sometimes that's how I just think about things. When I go inside the classroom, automatically I switch my teacher brain, It doesn't matter if I got frustrated with my partner teacher sometimes, or if what I wanted to happen in the lesson was not permitted by the JTE. For me, when I get there, I'm gonna do my best because my students are waiting for me. And my students are there. They're gonna meet me. And my students are expecting that I am there so that I can help them learn English. So, yeah. I think that would be all for the crush. Remember to have crush with ALT, with the JTE type of setup or partner teaching inside the classroom. And yeah, I think that's it for now for this vlog. Thank you so much for you listening to me all the way from the very beginning to the very end. I am so touched. And the one thing that I want this channel to be is, ouch. With my videos, I would like to be able to help those who are aspiring to be a part of the JET program and be an ALT here in Japan. So yeah, for now, I am really hoping that I would be able to upload more videos in the future. Shout out to all of my... This is so embarrassing. Shout out to all my tropang amethyst. Oh my gosh, this is so judgment. They do request for shout out sometimes. Guys, if ever you have questions for me with my teaching experience here or just like simply my life experience here in Japan, please kindly write them down on the comments below or send me a message over Facebook. I try my best to answer your questions, or through IG whenever I have time, whenever I have a chance. I tend to like read them and try to answer them. And for everybody, please stay safe and well, everyone. Stay healthy. Bye bye for now. Sending my love to all.